So much of my career to date and going forward is going to be about sort of getting the most you can out of studies that didn't have randomization and requires careful thought about study design and your statistical analysis to get your least biased findings from those studies.
Welcome to Collaborative Endeavors, a podcast about how experts from different areas of research come together to tackle big health challenges, leading to better therapies and healthier communities. In this episode, we meet one of CCTS's newest affiliates in the Clinical and Translational Scholars, or CATS program. Dr. Charles Gaber is an assistant professor in UIC's Department of Pharmacy Systems, Outcomes, and Policy. He is also a University of Illinois Cancer Center member. Dr. Gaber uses his background in epidemiology to study drug use, safety, and effectiveness in the real world. This is known as pharmacoepidemiology, a big word with big implications on population health. Dr. Gaber talked to me about his current research project, his mentor team, and what he hopes to accomplish during his time as a CATS program affiliate scholar.
I'd say it kind of began as an undergraduate at Tulane University in New Orleans, where I majored in public health and economics. At the time, it was one of the only institutions that offered an undergrad public health program. So that was a big draw for me. And when I was there, I gained exposure to the idea of impacting health and medical outcomes through population level research and statistics. By the time I wrapped things up at Tulane, I was pretty sold on becoming an epidemiologist. So I went directly into a master's in public health, or MPH, program at the University of Michigan, which is where I met my wife, Jen, in the same program. And so after graduating from there, I worked for a couple years at Arbor Research Collaborative for Health before deciding to pursue my PhD in epidemiology. I just couldn't get enough of the coursework and the research. So I did that at University of North Carolina and finished up in 2022. And so at UNC, I concentrated in pharmacoepidemiology and cancer outcomes research, which is where I developed this passion for conducting observational studies using large secondary data sets. And it was right after that that I joined as junior faculty in the Department of Pharmacy Systems, Outcomes, and Policy at UIC. I just sort of got some momentum in the cancer world during my MPH at Michigan, working on some projects in lung cancer. I thought it was always very interesting how each site of cancer can be very different in prognosis and the kinds of treatments available and patterns of care and all of these things. And so it just ended up being a really interesting and fruitful area of research for me that I've stayed in.
Dr. Gaber went on to talk about the value of observational studies and the importance of validating the findings of studies for which randomized trials were not an option.
There's a lot of sort of interesting debate, both on Twitter and at conferences and academic circles and stuff, about medical evidence and it coming from randomized trials or observational studies. And our randomized trials are, they're known as like the gold standard, but there's a lot of cases where, there's not an industry incentive to do a trial of two existing therapies, or certain patient-centered outcomes haven't been looked at with those yet, and you need to rely on observational studies. And so I think maybe it's too often dichotomized as, oh, it wasn't a trial, so I can't use this, or it's not valid or something. And there's obviously famous examples of biased observational studies, but there's also a lot of people who are thinking about this and how to improve observational studies and help them deliver important answers. So much of my career to date and going forward is going to be about sort of getting the most you can out of studies that didn't have randomization and requires careful thought about study design and your statistical analysis to get your least biased findings from those studies.
I asked Dr. Gaber to describe the research project supported under the CATS Affiliate Award.
My research project focuses on metastatic hormone-sensitive prostate cancer, and it has a couple of aims. So the first aim, we're going to take these randomized clinical trials called Titan and Latitude, and they studied therapies for the treatment of metastatic hormone-sensitive prostate cancer And we're going to use these publicly available trial data and combine that with machine learning algorithms to derive more personalized treatment effects from the trials. So as they stand, the trials kind of just report one global number that applies to theoretically everyone in the study population, or maybe they'll look at subgroup analyses, but it's really hard to take the results of these trials and personalize their context for the patient in front of you. So to get a better sense of that, we're going to be using these algorithms to derive predicted individualized treatment effects, they're called, and then build a tool in the second aim that allows people to enter person level characteristics like demographics, tumor characteristics, and then get an updated or personalized estimate from the trial. Pie in the sky, we would refine this tool over time after seeing how patients and clinicians both use it and seeing how to improve the model both statistically and how it operates, its usability. And from there, it would be really interesting to eventually do a trial to see how using this tool could impact care decisions and outcomes. So that's sort of long term. I do think it would be important for both patients and providers to use and talk about. And it certainly wouldn't be, a crystal ball or a way of absolutely selecting a therapy, but I think it's helpful to add context to trials where clinicians often have questions about like, okay, we've seen the main results of Latitude and Titan, but how does that really come into play for the patient in front of me, and thinking about tailoring treatment strategies. So we hope that this tool is, even if it's a small step, is a step towards more personalization.
Dr. Gaber then discussed his mentor team and ways these individuals help contribute to his development as a translational scientist.
So I was incredibly fortunate to have individuals in my professional life already who were strong mentors and working in areas that were pertinent to this research. So it felt like a natural extension to ask them if they'd be on my mentoring team. And graciously, they said yes. Rounding out the team is Dr. Lee from the College of Pharmacy, Dr. Todd Lee, Dr. Natalie Razine from the College of Medicine, and Dr. Lisa Sharp from the College of Nursing. So it's really exciting to have this strong interdisciplinary mentoring team, because while they share a lot of strengths, they all have kind of unique elements and perspectives and backgrounds that they're bringing to the mentorship as well. Dr. Lee, he's the head of my home department, and he's my faculty mentor. So he's someone who I've had an ongoing research relationship with over the past couple of years, and he's always had just a wealth of experience for me to be able to rely on when it comes to data analysis and doing observational studies and that kind of work. So he's been just terrific. Dr. Razine, I met a couple of years ago. I just kind of cold call emailed her about doing some projects together. And then within 30 minutes, she had emailed me back all enthusiastic about working together. And so we've started to do some prostate cancer projects together in the past year. And then Dr. Lisa Sharp, she and I used to be office neighbors actually when she was in the College of Pharmacy. So that's how I got to know Dr. Sharp. And she, besides being just a total expert in research design and methods, she's also a very well-connected person at UIC and at other institutions too. So she's got a great network, this expertise, and then a lot of experience doing primary data collection too, which I could see as a logical next step for future projects. So I think she's going to be really helpful in helping me get some experience and planning future projects too. Skills wise, I'm hoping to add quite a bit to the toolbox by doing some new predictive modeling work and learning how to do machine learning algorithms like random forests. So that'll be something new for me that will be important for this project, but also for future work. And then more on the clinical side, so I don't have a clinical background, so it's really important for me to have strong clinical mentors like Dr. Razine, who can help me build the context around the study findings and help me develop more expertise in this area, be it through shadowing Dr. Razine or attending tumor boards, programming at the Cancer Center. There's all sorts of opportunities at UIC that I think are going to be really important to sort of boosting my translational skills.
We are always interested in the translational science aspects of health studies. That is, what part of the project, a method, model, approach, could be generalized and reused by other investigators with adjacent research questions. Dr. Gaber shared his thoughts.
To date, most of the studies that I've done or been a part of kind of end with the peer-reviewed publication being the final result, and things stop there, right? So the hope is that decision makers read your study and they consider the evidence that you've presented in the study, and that's great, and that's sort of the traditional workflow. But with this project, I'm hoping to gain some experience through doing that second aim and developing something that can make the results interactive and more usable, both for clinicians and patients. So after we develop this tool, we're going to assess how it performs, not just statistically, but its clinical utility, and like, how practical is this thing, and can we really use it in clinic, help improve shared decision making, and talk about different therapeutic options. I would say that the methods and the workflow would certainly generalize to clinical trials really in any setting. The tool itself will be specific to understanding the decision making of androgen receptor pathway inhibitors, discovering or estimating at a personal level like the expected benefit of these therapies. So the tool will be for that specific therapeutic question, but these methods definitely generalize, and the idea comes from other disease sites and conditions that have used these methods, like in cardiovascular disease.
I asked Dr. Gaber to share his long-term career aspirations, as well as words of advice for other junior faculty or those who are starting to branch into translational research.
It means the world to me to have the support of the KL2 CATS affiliate program and the UIC Cancer Center too. Broadly, I want to grow as a multidisciplinary scholar whose work improves the lives of those diagnosed with prostate cancer. So be it through large observational studies, which have sort of been my bread and butter to date, or getting more involved in primary data collection and clinical trial data. I want to be part of a team that's making medicine more tailored to individuals and improves their outcomes, especially in metastatic prostate cancer. So to do that, to execute on that, it takes a lot. And I think, the goal is to develop an active program of research that's well funded, meet lots of people, and develop a network of collaborators, both based in the US and internationally. And then also important to me is taking these experience into teaching and becoming an influential and dedicated educator in the field of pharmacoepidemiology more broadly. Find your niche area and run with it, and have fun with the people that you're working with. I think that is a big component. And when you're building your professional network and your mentoring team, it really is a network. It's not just one person. So I recently did an individual development plan, or IDP, for the CATS affiliate program, and it made me think about like who do I go to when I have a epidemiology methods question, and thinking about those who are most closely aligned with your research to those farther out who maybe you want to meet and work with in the future. And so thinking about these across different categories of teaching and research and sort of different areas of your professional development. As a junior faculty, you do hear advice of like learn to say no, right? And I think that's definitely helpful, but it's also it's a bit of a tightrope that you're walking, because you want to also meet new people and develop, maintain, strengthen your professional relationships, and a lot of that is through working with people on projects and helping them on analyses, and they'll help you. And I find that most people are, even if you don't know them, are really responsive to just an email, reaching out to them and expressing your common interests and seeing if there's ways that you can work together. So I did that a lot during my PhD program, and I continue to do that now, where if I read an interesting paper, I just email the person and tell them that I liked it. And I think that means a lot to people. And I was recently at the American Society of Clinical Oncology, or ASCO conference, and there's a scholar there who I really respect and had known just from reading this individual's studies and publications. They're very influential, and I just introduced myself to him, and we talked about his research and stuff I'm doing. And at the end of it, he said he'd be happy to write like a letter of support for a grant that we're writing. So you never know what just introducing yourself will lead to, and kind of how a bunch of dominoes will fall after that. So put yourself out there, I think, is maybe my short version of my advice.
Collaborative Endeavors is produced by me, Lauren Rieger, on behalf of the Center for Clinical and Translational Science, aka the CCTS, at the University of Illinois Chicago. To learn more about Dr. Charles Gaber, CCTS's KL2 CATS and CATS affiliate program, visit the links in our show notes. The CCTS is supported by the National Institutes of Health's National Center for Advancing Translational Science through their Clinical and Translational Science Award. Opinions expressed by guests of the show are their own and do not necessarily represent the views of myself, the CCTS, or our funding agencies. You can find more episodes of Collaborative Endeavors on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, Amazon Music, and YouTube. While we do not monetize this podcast, we do love positive feedback. If you like what you hear, go ahead and give us a 5-star rating to help spread the word. To learn more about how you can work with the CCTS to make a positive impact on the health and well-being of our community, visit ccts.uic.edu or follow us on X at UICCCTS.
Welcome to Community Level, a podcast where public health research meets real-world impact. Brought to you by the Community Health Sciences Division of the University of Illinois Chicago School of Public Health. I'm Dr. Kalechi Bay-Lamberts, your host, and each month we'll bring you in-depth interviews with leading academic researchers, community leaders, and organizations making a difference in our communities. Discover the groundbreaking projects and innovative solutions that are shaping the future of public health. Their personal stories and professional journeys that led these experts and community leaders and scholars and students to their vital work. At Community Level, we go beyond the data to explore the human side of public health research and community initiatives. Whether you're a student, professional, or just passionate about making a difference, this podcast is for you. Join us as we bridge the gap between research and practice, one episode at a time. Subscribe now on your favorite podcast platform and follow us on social media for the latest updates. Let's make a positive impact together at the community level.